AI never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. We have not one, not two, but 4 new video generators. We also have not one, not two, but 3 new image generators and editors that are state-of-the-art. This is now the best real-time text-to-speech generator you can use, and this fits comfortably in consumer-grade GPUs. We also have a real-time video generator that can even do dialogue, and this can do videos in infinite length. This AI is now the best for animating anyone. It's even better than the previous leader, OneAnimate. The whale Deepseek is back. This week, they just dropped the best open source model, which even rivals Gemini 3 Pro, and it's able to achieve gold medal status across the toughest math and coding competitions. But then Google also drops the best model out there period, Gemini 3 DeepThink. We have some crazy humanoid robot demos and a lot more, so let's jump right in. First up, we have probably the best open source real-time text-to-speech you can use right now. It's called VibeVoice, and I already covered this text-to-speech tool previously. This can do various accents and languages. It can instantly clone a voice with just a few seconds of reference audio. This is super powerful.
G'day, mate! You all set for the project kickoff this evening?
Almost there, just sorting out some last-minute slides over a chai break.
In fact, see this video if you want to learn more about VibeVoice. Now back then, this wasn't real time. This week, they've released a real-time version. So here's what the interface looks like, and notice that as soon as you press start, within like milliseconds, it starts to generate the speech.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Quiet Shift, a podcast where we talk about slowing down, tuning in, and finding meaning in the everyday. I'm your host, Jamie, and today, we're talking about something that most people try to avoid at all costs. Boredom. Yep. That strange, restless feeling you get when there's nothing to do. Most of us treat boredom like a problem, something to be fixed immediately. Stuck in traffic? Check your phone. Waiting in line? Scroll social media. Lying in bed at night? Watch just one more video.
So that's what the real-time interface looks like. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do a full tutorial on this. Notice that it's only like 0.5 billion parameters, so the total size of this is around 2 gigabytes in size. You can easily fit this with like most consumer-grade GPUs, or even with just a CPU. And here it says it only takes like 300 milliseconds for it to generate the speech. So it's essentially real-time. And if you compare this real-time model with other competitor models, you can see that it has quite a low error rate, plus it has the highest speaker similarity score, which means the speech sounds the most like the reference audio. The awesome thing is they've released this already, so they've released this GitHub repo, which if you scroll down a bit contains all the instructions on how to download and run this real-time model. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty neat. So if you want to generate dancing videos of any character, then this tool is for you. It's called SteadyDancer. And as you can see, this takes in a reference image of a character and a reference video of someone else dancing, and it can basically make this new character dance. Even if it's at a different angle, you can see it's able to transfer her arm and body and hand movements really well. Here's another example. It doesn't even have to be like a similar image, so you can see the reference image is mid-shot, whereas the reference video is full body, but it's still able to transfer the movements over very accurately. And the movements are so smooth, like this is way better than what we've seen before. And it doesn't just have to work with realistic characters, so you can even input some 3D fictional characters like Wukong, and here's what you get. Very nice. And it doesn't matter if your character is like in irregular proportions, such as this dude. It also doesn't matter if your reference video is like super squished like this, which they did intentionally for this example, but as you can see, it's still able to transfer the movements over, including the lip sync and the hand gestures very accurately. Now, a few months ago, I featured another tool called OneAnimate, which you can see is on the lower right corner. And as you can see, this new one, SteadyDancer, just does a lot better. It's a lot more coherent, it's a lot sharper, and the character consistency is also a lot better than OneAnimate. Here's another example for your reference. In this case, I mean, it makes OneAnimate look so bad. If you want to animate a character with a reference video, especially for high action dancing videos, then this one is currently the best option you can use right now. It's noticeably better than OneAnimate. here are some other cooler examples for your reference. So this doesn't just have to do dancing videos. If you input a pose video like this, it can automatically detect that this person should be sweeping the leaves, as you can see here, and it animates her doing so. Or here's another example where it can automatically detect and understand that this person should be shoveling snow, and that's indeed what it generates. Or here's another example where it can automatically detect that this person should be kicking the soccer ball, given this reference image. Again, if you compare this with OneAnimate, which is in the lower right corner, you can see that the handlebars are all messed up. There are some really noticeable errors, but for SteadyDancer, which is in the top right, everything remains very coherent. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, the awesome thing is they've released everything already. So here is a link to their GitHub repo. And if you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. All the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is really cool. This is an AI that can create binaural audio, or basically 3D audio, from videos. That means you can take a silent video and it would understand everything that's going on in the video and generate 3D audio from it. Here are some examples. Notice as the tractor moves from right to left, the audio also moves from right to left. This is especially apparent if you're wearing headphones. Notice again as we pan to the right, in other words, as the harpist moves to the left, the sound also moves from right to left. So it's able to accurately determine where sound is coming from and generate that in 3D. Again, notice as the trumpet moves off to the left of the screen, the sound also moves to the left. This example is super cool. So it's even able to detect when this dude is slapping the guitar versus, strumming the guitar. The sound is actually quite accurate. I haven't seen another video to audio generator that can actually understand instruments this well. And same with this one. Notice that the string sounds actually follow the bow movements of the orchestra. It's as if they're actually playing this audio. This sounds super realistic. Really quickly, here's the architecture behind it. So ViSAudio uses a special technique called dual branch audio generation. So here you can see this input audio is broken down into a left and right audio latent space. And this means it uses two separate paths to generate the audio for the left and right ears. And this helps it create a more realistic and immersive sound. It also uses this conditional space-time module to make sure it actually follows all the actions in the video and make it sound realistic and consistent. It looks like they have released a link to a GitHub repo. There's nothing here yet, but on their to-do list, they are planning to release the code and the dataset and the training code. So they're planning to completely open source this, which is fantastic. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. In other news, this week has been absolutely crazy in terms of AI video. There were a ton of state-of-the-art video models that dropped this week. Let's start with Pixverse, which released their latest model, version 5.5. This can generate videos with sound natively built in, just like Veo and Sora. So here are some examples of its generations.
There's a frontline report. Gunfire cracking non-stop. sirens are screaming. A helicopter is pounding overhead. All audio, one generate.
And like most video generators, this can make videos at up to 1080p in resolution and up to 10 seconds in duration. Now, while it does have sound, I find that especially the dialogue sounds kind of robotic. You can easily tell that most of these talking videos were AI generated. Like, the characters don't really talk naturally, they kind of lack emotion and expressiveness. Now, one of the most noteworthy features of Pixverse is this multi-generation switch which you can toggle on, and this can generate multiple videos of a scene but at different angles. So this allows you to create a coherent micro story in just one render. You can stitch all these scenes together to create a long video. So that's Pixverse 5.5. I'll link to it in the description below if you're interested in trying this out. In addition to Pixverse, we have another video model that dropped this week called Runway Gen4.5, which is their latest model. They claim that this is much better at physics, motion, and prompt control. Unfortunately, the generations from this model don't have sound, even though this is like their most advanced model to date. However, it does show a bit more coherence and camera control compared to the last version. I still wasn't too impressed with the video quality, to be honest. If you look closely, there's still some considerable noise and artifacts across its generations, especially in higher action scenes. So it's definitely not like up to par with the leading models like Vio or Sora, and that's why I didn't do a full video on it. But if you want to check it out, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. Now, we're not done yet, so another video company called Kling also dropped not one, but two new models this week. The first one that they released is called Kling O1, and this is actually quite interesting. This is an omnimodal model that can understand text, images, and videos, so you can input all three types of media and mix and match these however you want. And this makes it a super flexible and powerful tool. You can, for example, upload a video and get it to replace the background, or replace characters, or insert new characters or objects with reference photos. Or you can just upload a ton of reference photos, including characters, objects, and backgrounds, and plug them all into one video. This is kind of like Nano Banana for video, and I honestly think this will be the future of AI video. Now, in addition to Kling O1, they also released their latest, most advanced model called Kling 2.6. This is their first model with sound natively built in, and the sound actually is quite good and in sync. Here's an example for your reference. And like the previous versions of Kling, this is incredibly good at physics, high action scenes, and image to video. Anyways, I already did a full video earlier this week, so I'm not going to repeat too much here. See this video for a full review on Kling O1 and Kling 2.6. Also this week, we have an update to one of the best open source video models you can use. This is called Hunyuan Video 1.5 by Tencent, and I already did a full review and installation tutorial on this when it first came out. However, the main problem with this video model, even though the quality is great, is that it takes quite long to generate a video. Well, this week they just released this new step distilled model. This allows you to generate videos in 8 or 12 steps. That means the time it takes to generate a video is reduced by 75%. So on a single 4090, you can generate a video in just 75 seconds. Now, here are some examples for your reference. For the full model, it takes like 50 steps to generate a decent quality video, but if you use this distilled model, which only requires 8 steps, as you can see, the difference in quality actually is not really noticeable. It's as good as the base model with 50 steps, but this can render like 4 to 5 times faster. Anyways, all the info and instructions are over here, so if you're interested in trying this out, I'll link to this main GitHub repo in the description below. In humanoid robot news, we have this new and very impressive demo by EngineAI. Here's a demo of their new T800 robot preparing to fight. And as you can see here, it's able to do some crazy spin kicks like this, which honestly I can't even do. Here you can see it sparring, and what's really impressive is how fast it can execute these punches. I mean, the speed of its movements are just way faster than any humanoid robot I've seen before. especially if you compare it to like the Optimus or Figure. They just seem way more clunky compared to this one. And then here's another demo of it executing multiple punch and kick combos. I mean, look how naturally and quickly this thing can move. It's an absolute beast. Now here I'm not sure if it's acting autonomously or if it's being teleoperated. In other words, if some human is operating this remotely behind the scenes, but it's still impressive nonetheless how it's able to move so quickly and maintain balance the whole time. I mean, with this robot, we are going to get real steel in real life pretty soon, where we can have robots competing in like fight competitions. Let me know in the comments below if you would watch something like this. Now, I'm sure after publishing this video, there's going to be a lot of doubters and copers out there screaming that this is fake or CGI. Well, shortly afterwards, they also released some behind-the-scenes footage of this scene. So this is indeed real. In fact, if their demo caused so many people to doubt that it's CGI, then it makes it even more impressive. Now, at least for me, I wouldn't want to have a robot that could potentially destroy my house. I'd rather have one, like do the dishes or take out the trash, but I think this can be potentially very useful for like more industrial applications or maybe search and rescue missions. Anyways, that is EngineAI and their new T800 robot. This is a serious contender in the humanoid robot race. Now, if you've been following my channel, you should know that hands down the best open source image model you can use right now is Z-Image by Alibaba, which was released last week. This can do a ton of different stuff with incredible understanding, and it's all jam-packed in just 6 billion parameters. Well, this week we might have some competition. So this other company called Meituan, which is actually a Chinese food delivery company out of all things, they just dropped LongCat-Image. This is also a super efficient model with only 6 billion parameters, exactly the same as Z-Image. Here are some of their showcase generations. So as you can see, it's great for creating posters like this. It can also generate realistic photos like this, and also different art styles and diagrams like this. And then here are some other examples. I mean, just from their showcase photos, this looks like a solid model. Now, I got pretty excited. I wanted to see if it's as good as Z-Image, so I put this to the test. Here are some tricky prompts that I tried out. So here's the prompt above. We have a cozy bakery window with the wooden sign reading freshly baked today in cursive Pacifico font. Below, we have a chalkboard that lists croissants, $2.50, sourdough loaf, $5, cupcakes, $3 each, plus a poster that advertises baking workshop Sunday 10 a.m. with a rolling pin graphic. And then we also have 4 pastries: chocolate eclair, blueberry muffin, cinnamon roll, and almond croissant. So here are the 4 images for your reference. Here's the first one. It got all the text correct. Even the pastries look good, but there's just an extra blueberry muffin. Here's the second one. Here it gives us an extra cinnamon roll, but everything looks very nice and realistic. Here's an even trickier prompt, and this time it did not do so well. So we have a ballerina practicing spins in a studio with mirrored walls, scattered with point shoes and sheet music. A rabbit watches atop a grand piano, and outside the large window, an elephant balances on a circus ball. Here's the first generation. As you can see, the reflection isn't correct, and it's missing the elephant. Here, again, the reflection isn't correct. The elephant is also not correct. Same with the third one and the fourth one. So it couldn't really get this prompt correct. Next, here's a young woman taking a selfie in a cafe. She's doing a cute expression with pursed lips, winking, and one hand doing a peace sign. Irregular angle, amateur, low quality photo. It is following all the expressions that I specified. However, this doesn't really look like a low quality amateur photo. The colors look too perfect and the background is too blurry. This looks more like a professional photo, which is not what I specified. Now, the awesome thing about LongCat-Image is they've actually released an edit model as well. So this allows you to edit images using natural language, just like Nano Banana. They haven't released any examples on that, so I also put it to the test myself. Here I uploaded this floor plan and I asked it to make a photo of this room with a cozy minimalist design. And here's what I got. Now, this looks okay. There are some errors with this toilet over here. The piano also doesn't really look accurate. Same with like the walls over here. And then this over here should be a door. So it's not really good. And then next I also uploaded this image and I asked it to colorize this plus translate it to Chinese. And unfortunately, it was able to only colorize some of it, which is really strange. Plus, it was not able to translate this to Chinese. So unfortunately, after some of my quick initial tests, the quality for both the image generator and image editor of LongCat-Image wasn't so great. However, this is a super lightweight 6 billion parameter model, and this is completely open source, so you can download and run it for free for unlimited times. So if you are interested in reading further and trying this out, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Now, like I said, last week, Alibaba dropped, hands down, the best image generator you can use right now called Z-Image, but did you know that they also low-key dropped another image editor? This time it's from a different team from Alibaba, and this is called Ovis Image. This is also quite tiny at only 7 billion parameters. This is only text to image, so you can't edit images with this. Here are some examples of Ovis Image. It can do photos of various styles, including realistic and watercolor paintings like this, and it's really good at rendering text. In fact, while the image quality isn't as good as Z-Image, especially in terms of realistic photos, the strength of Ovis Image is it's really good at generating text. So as you can see from these benchmarks, in terms of text rendering, Ovis Image pretty much outcompetes all these other models. And it's also way smaller if you look at the parameter size of these competitors. The nice thing is this is already natively integrated into Comfy UI. So if you're interested in trying this out, all the details are on this page, which I will link to in the description below. Speaking of AI tools, you've got to check out Flowith, the sponsor of this video. Recently, they dropped something that really surprised me. It's called FlowithOS. And this is an agentic operating system where AI agents can autonomously execute complex workflows across the web or even inside your terminal. It's not just another browser with AI chat features. This thing literally operates for you across tabs, apps, and code environments. Unlike other agent platforms which often get stuck, FlowithOS runs shockingly smooth. For example, I can use it to easily automate likes and comments on X. It actually reads posts and responds thoughtfully. But what really surprised me is that FlowithOS can also handle tasks that normally require command line skills. So let's say I want to try a small coding project, but I'm not super technical. So I don't even know how to save this project. Well, I can literally tell FlowithOS to help me save this 2048 project from GitHub to my desktop and verify that it runs correctly. And it just magically does this, all automatically, without me having to touch a single command. It turns what used to be like a 10-step setup into one simple prompt. And the performance of FlowithOS is top-notch, even beating other top agentic browsers like Gemini Computer Use and ChatGPT Atlas. FlowithOS loads tasks instantly and doesn't choke when handling tougher workflows. Now here's a little secret. Actually, FlowithOS is in public beta right now, so you'll need an invite code to get in. These invite codes are pretty hard to get, but I have a few to share, so comment directly below in this video and I'll reply with your invite code. And we're not done yet. Alibaba continues to cook. So they just announced Live Avatar. This is a real-time video generator with infinite length, which is already super impressive. If you've been following my channel, I've been covering all the top video generators out there, and most of them can only do up to 10 seconds in length. It's really hard for them to continue doing a longer video, let alone in real time. But this Live Avatar can do real-time long videos with audio. Here are some examples. Here, basically, they've connected it to two AI agents that are doing text-to-speech. So the agent is first listening to what the other person is saying, and then it's typing out a reply, and then sending that speech over to Live Avatar to generate the video. And notice that it's super low latency.
Can it really mimic subtle emotions like a slight smile or a raised eyebrow?
Yes, it's designed for high-fidelity emotion capture. Imagine a digital character with nuanced expressions.
That's incredible. But what about the uncanny valley? Can it really feel human enough to avoid that?
And this can also do videos of various styles, including realistic portrait videos. As you can see, it's able to move their entire body, including their hands and arms, not just their faces, so everything feels quite natural. It's also able to generate other art styles, like 3D Pixar style, as well as 2D, like this. And then on their site, you can check out some super long videos, like this one is 5 minutes long, this one is 6 minutes long, and they just keep talking the whole time with no noticeable errors or distortions in the video, which is super impressive. For most video generators, after you exceed like 10 seconds, usually there's some noticeable noise or distortion going on, but you don't see this here. The quality remains coherent across the entire video, even though it's minutes long. Here's what I mean by that. If you compare the generation from Live Avatar, which is on the far left, with some other video generators which aren't even in real time, notice that all of them start out okay, but as soon as you keep playing this for like over 10 seconds and over a minute, then the quality for these other models just start deteriorating. So in fact, let me fast forward this video so you see what I mean. So after a few minutes, you can see that for one stable avatar, the colors change, and then for Omni Avatar, the kid turns into a completely different kid. Actually, Ditto is pretty good, but he can't really talk anymore. Anyways, all of these are just weird. The only one that remains intact the whole time is this new live avatar. Here are some of its technical details. It uses a technique called distribution matching distillation, which basically transforms this model into a very efficient 4-step streaming model. And this allows it to be able to generate videos in real time. It also uses this new time-step forcing pipeline parallelism, also known as TPP, to decouple the processing across multiple devices, and so this allows it to basically process the video in parallel and generate the output even faster. Here it says, together these techniques yield an 84 times FPS improvement over the baseline, enabling live video generation over 20 frames per second without quantization, which is very impressive. Now, before you get too excited here, at least currently, this requires 5 H100 GPUs to generate videos in real time at 20 frames per second and over 10,000 seconds long. I'm sure like most of you don't have 5 enterprise-grade GPUs lying around in your basement, but don't worry, because if you click on their GitHub repo, here is their to-do list. Here it says they are going to release the code and the models for this, plus a Gradio demo. And here's the most important part. Down here, it says they will later release a model that can run on very low VRAM, which I assume can run on like consumer-grade GPUs. And they're also going to add ComfyUI support, which is fantastic. So they haven't released anything yet, but it's on their to-do list. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, this AI is super useful. It's called Poster Copilot, and this is basically an AI agent that can help you create professional-looking posters and graphics, as you can see from these examples. Now, this is a bit different than some other graphic or image generators in that not only do you feed it a prompt, but you also specify the width and height, and then you can drag and drop some assets or layers for it to use. For example, if this is your prompt and here are all the assets, well, here's the poster that it generates from this. Now, you don't have to specify everything that you want to include in the poster. So for example, if you don't specify a background image, the agent can also automatically generate a background image for you, as you can see here. Or if you don't have a foreground image, then it can also generate this image for you and then add this for the poster. Or you can also just upload text and then have it generate both the background and foreground, and here's your result. This also has multi-round refinement. You can iterate and edit a poster again and again. For example, if it starts with something like this, you can prompt it to change the background to black and then change this to marble with gold, and here's what you get. And then you can prompt it further to change the background a bit and then change the camera to look like this. And it's basically like a nano banana where it's able to micro-edit certain parts of the image based on whatever you specify in your prompt. But notice that it keeps all the text consistent in your posters because these are essentially separate layers. So you don't have to worry about it hallucinating and generating some misspellings or some messed up text. Here's another example of some iterative designs for your reference. Now, this agent can also easily help you convert a poster from one aspect ratio to a different aspect ratio. So for example, we can convert this original vertical poster into a horizontal one like this. Or we can convert this horizontal one into a vertical poster like this. Or here's another example for your reference. So now it's really easy to do so, and notice that because everything is in separate layers, it's basically just reorganizing everything, the text and the fonts all remain correct and remain the same in your generations. you don't have to worry about this hallucinating and generating some messed up text. So now it's really easy for you to just convert a poster or graphic into different aspect ratios just with AI. You don't have to manually drag and reposition anything yourself. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and here on their to-do list, it seems like they are planning to release not only the model, but also the data pipeline, the dataset, and the training code. So this is going to be fully open source. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Google releases the best AI model you can use right now. This is called Gemini 3 DeepThink, and this is still Gemini 3, so it's not like a completely new model, but it just basically allocates more compute to Gemini 3 to encourage longer reasoning and thinking, and this allows it to handle really complicated multi-step questions, for example, in research or math or coding. Now, as you can expect, this requires a ton of compute, and so it's not available for free users or even pro users. You need to be an ultra subscriber, which is like over $200 a month for you to use this in the Gemini app. However, I mean, if you are in a field that requires some really heavy thinking and research, for example, in medicine or math or programming, then this might be for you. Gemini 3 DeepThink is indeed the best model out there for these types of tasks. So for example, here are some benchmarks for your reference, comparing these with the best and latest models. And as you can see, for humanities last exam, this tests an AI's knowledge on some really obscure scientific subjects. Gemini 3 DeepThink is the highest. Same with graduate level science and reasoning questions, Gemini 3 scores the highest. What's even more impressive is this ArcAGI 2 benchmark, where DeepThink scores all the way up here. In fact, here's another chart showing how crazy Gemini DeepThink performs on this ArcAGI 2 benchmark compared to all these other leading models. By the way, if you're not familiar with ArcAGI 2, these are basically a set of visual puzzles. So for example, you're given a question and answer pair. For a human, it's pretty easy to deduce how to solve this. You basically color these gray shapes based on how many holes they have. So afterwards, you're given this question and you need to deduce the answer from that. Now for an AI model, this is extremely hard. As you can see, most models score like under 20%. And this is because an AI model doesn't really learn new things after training. So if it sees this new pattern, it might not actually be able to, learn this new pattern and then apply it in its answer. It's really testing an AI model's ability to learn new patterns that it has never seen before and then apply it to its generations, even though it can't really actually learn new things. And as you can see, Gemini 3 DeepThink by far outcompetes the other models. Here it says Gemini DeepThink also achieved a gold medal standard in the International Math Olympiad, as well as this International Programming Contest, which are like the toughest math and coding competitions in the world. So it's really good if you need an AI to do these types of tasks. But for everyday stuff, honestly, this is like overkill. You definitely don't need to spend money on this DeepThink feature. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Mistral releases a new family of open source models. Now, Mistral, this is a French AI startup, and they're known to release some nice open source models at the start of this AI explosion right when ChatGPT came out. And we haven't actually heard from them in a while, but this week they've released Mistral 3. And this includes a family of 3 small dense models. These range from 14 billion, 8 billion, and 3 billion parameters, so these ones can fit on most consumer-grade GPUs, as well as Mistral Large 3, which is a much larger mixture of experts model, which has 675 billion total parameters. As before, all these models are released under the Apache 2 license, which has very minimal restrictions. You can even use this for commercial purposes. Now, if you compare the performance of the largest one, Mistral Large 3, across all these benchmarks, with some of the older leading open source models like Deepseek V3.2, notice we already have 3.2 this week, and then also Kimi K2, but we already have Kimi K2 thinking, Mistral is on par with at least the older versions of these models. And then if you compare these smaller models, the 14 billion parameter model against other similar sized open source models, you can see that it also is on par with these other competitors. Same with the 8 billion parameter model, as well as the 3 billion parameter model. Now, those were just some of their self-reported benchmarks. Let's see how this ranks in some independent leaderboards. So if you look at this leaderboard from Artificial Analysis, and here I'm only comparing open source models, unfortunately, the largest Mistral 3 version ranks all the way down here. It's not even close to some of the older models like Deepseek R1 or GLM 4.6 or Qwen 3. So I wouldn't really spend much time on this largest model. However, if you are interested in running a small to medium-sized model locally that can fit on a consumer-grade GPU, then these smaller Mistral 3 models might be a good option for you. The awesome thing is they've open sourced everything already, so all the instructions on how to download and install these models are on this page. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, the whale is back. So Deepseek just dropped their latest model, Deepseek V3.2. And this is again a crazy achievement by Deepseek. Not only is this currently the best open source model you can use right now, but its performance even rivals the best closed models out there, including Gemini 3 Pro and GPT-5. So there's actually two different versions of this. We have the main version 3.2 model, and this is a successor to the previous experimental model. Make sure you don't mix these up. And then there's also this V3.2 Special, not special, but Special variant, which is optimized for maximum reasoning capacity. So here are some benchmark scores for your reference. Notice this Special version is in light blue, and this is the one that even rivals Gemini 3 Pro across all these reasoning tasks, including competitive math and science and coding. Now, note that currently this Special model does not have tool use, so it's not included in these agentic benchmarks, but as you can see, even the regular Deepseek V.2 scores pretty closely to the top proprietary models, including GPT-5 High across these agentic benchmarks. Now, here's another crazy stat. This 3.2 Special got gold level results in all these competitions, including the International Math Olympiad, CMO, this International Programming Contest, as well as this International Olympiad on Informatics. This is actually a huge deal. First of all, the questions in these competitions are really tough. Like, it requires hours to even days of thinking for a human contestant to solve these problems. And Deepseek V3.2 is the first and only general open source model to achieve gold medal results in all these competitions. Remember, this is not a model that's just specialized to do well in math. This is a general model that can handle everyday tasks as well, just like GPT and Gemini. So it's really impressive that this was able to achieve gold medal status in all these competitions. And then here are some other benchmark scores for your reference. Basically, the takeaway here is that both these models are pretty much on par with the leading closed source and open source models out there. Now, interestingly, if you look at this independent leaderboard called Artificial Analysis, then Deepseek 3.2 actually scores 1 point behind Kimi K2 Thinking. So at least according to this leaderboard, it's only the second best open source model out there. By the way, if you haven't heard of Kimi K2 Thinking, definitely see my full review video here. It's a very capable model. Back to here, while Deepseek 3.2 isn't the most performant model on this leaderboard, if you look at price, then it's the best bang for your buck. Now, this is open source. I'll talk more about that in a second, but if you choose to use Deepseek 3.2 through their native API, then it only costs like 30 cents per billion output tokens. Whereas for the same level of intelligence, if you use like GPT 5.1 or Gemini 3 Pro, these are like 10 to 15 times more expensive. Here it says Deepseek 3.2 is already live on app and web. So if you pull up Deepseek on your browser, or if you use the Deepseek app, then I believe this already defaults to the latest version 3.2. The awesome thing is, as with all the previous Deepseek models, this is already out for you to use. So here are the Hugging Face links for you to download these models. Note that this is a huge 685 billion parameter model, which is roughly 690 gigabytes in size. But I mean, with such world-class intelligence, that is expected. So note that you're not going to be able to run this on a consumer-grade GPU. This is mostly for like enterprises who are serious about running open source AI models locally or on-prem, then they can probably load this up on their local servers. Anyways, if you're interested in reading more, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, we have a new state-of-the-art image model by ByteDance called Seedream 4.5. Now, Seedream has always been one of the best image generators you can use. It can create some super detailed and super realistic photos. And 4.5 does it even better. So first of all, here are some text-to-image examples for your reference. Here's the prompt below, and note how realistic this is. I gotta say, Seedream is probably my favorite model in terms of aesthetics. Here's another example showing this long exposure shot with dynamic motion, and look how beautiful and artistic this is. Or here's a dude shaking hands with a German shepherd lying in a tent. Again, super realistic. Here's a crazier example, but as you can see, everything is very detailed and coherent. Here's an example of a very complicated scene, but it's able to render this very realistically. It's also really good at handling different art styles, so here's a watercolor painting for your reference. Now, this is also incredibly good at generating text, posters, and graphics. So here are just a few examples for your reference. With Seedream and some of these other AI tools, seriously, you no longer need to manually design anything yourself. Here's an even more impressive example. Note that this is just one generation. The prompt is below, so we have 3 sets of minimalist creative advertising combinations, etc., and it's able to generate all 3 posters in just one generation while keeping the same minimalist design. Here's another example for your reference. It's able to generate a ton of text very well. Here's an even more impressive example where it can create this entire user interface and all the text is actually correct. That's pretty incredible. And then of course you can use this to create invitation cards or marketing materials like this. Now, in addition to just generating images, this can also function as an image editor like Nano Banana. So let's say you upload this image and you prompt it to remove all the other characters. Here's what you get. Or we can turn this photo into nighttime like this. Or here we can translate all the text into Chinese using a handwritten font, and here's what we get. And the Chinese is correct. Here's another cool example. We can change the words highlighted in red into blue italic text. Or you can take this image and put that into a nice poster like this. So overall, a very impressive model. However, note that this is closed source and proprietary, so you can't download this and run it for free offline. Nevertheless, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Meta announces a model called Tuna. This model is quite unique in that it's actually a unified model that can understand and generate text, images, and video. Because of its unified nature, it can also edit images like Nano Banana. Everything is built into just one model. So first of all, here are some text-to-video examples for your reference. Note that the quality of this isn't great, so it's only like 384 by 672 at a frame rate of 12 frames per second. So it's not bad, but definitely not up to par with the best models out there. This is just a nice proof of concept. Now, in addition to generating videos, like I said, this is a unified model, so it can also generate images. So here are some examples of its outputs. As you can see, it can generate some super realistic images. It can also generate images in different camera perspectives like this. Plus, it's pretty good at generating text in images as well. These photos look super realistic. I mean, it's hard to tell that these were AI generated. Here are some other examples for your reference. Again, some of these look really good. Now, they only showed mostly realistic photos. I'm not sure if it can do anime or like 3D Pixar style or any other art style. Now, here's the thing. In addition to generating images and videos, this can also edit images. So here, if this is your input image and we want to make the doll look forward and apply lighting from the left, here is what we get. If you compare this with other open source competitors like Bagel or QuenImage or Flux One Context, then it seems like actually Tuna performs the best in this example. Here, if we want to turn this image into claymation style while giving the dog a cheerful smiling expression with both eyes squinted, again, it seems like Tuna executed this the best. Here's another example for your reference. So if we replace the small boat with a puppy on a swimming ring and then change the sentence on the sign to unified representation, it seems like Tuna executed this the best. Now, because of its multimodal feature, this can also act like a chatbot. So you can chat with it and upload images and videos for it to analyze. It's actually able to understand everything and answer your questions. So for example, if you upload this image and you ask it what kind of transportation would be used throughout the trip and what's planned for the second day, it's able to answer this correctly. Or if we upload this video of some lions and you ask it to describe the video, it's also able to answer this correctly. So this is a pretty cool model. While its video generation and image generation capabilities aren't as good as the leading models out there, the strength of this one is it's just one unified model that can do anything. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, here they do link to a GitHub repo, but it says the code is under legal review. So they haven't released anything yet. Now, given that this is from Meta, honestly, I wouldn't get my hopes up on them releasing this one. I mean, they haven't really released any image or video generator so far. But nevertheless, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is super powerful. It's called Lotus 2, and this can basically predict the depth of an image or the normal of the image. The normal is basically like the orientation of the surfaces of all the objects in the image. So for example, if we have this input image, in this middle column is a competitor model. You can see it pretty much sucks at detecting the depth of this image, but here is Lotus. Look at how nice and detailed everything is. Or if this is your input image, this emoji 2 is pretty bad, but for Lotus, it can predict everyone in the scene and even the details in the background, which historically has been very hard for these depth estimators. It's really hard for them to actually also pick up the subtle details in the background of an image. And then here are some normal estimation examples for your reference. Again, this is predicting the orientation of the surfaces of all the objects in the image. And for Lotus, you can see that it's just a lot more detailed. It's able to pick up a lot of subtleties, such as this fabric. Here are some benchmark scores in terms of depth estimation, and as you can see, Lotus 2 performs among the best out there. Here's how it works. Lotus 2 uses a two-stage process. It first makes a rough prediction of the 3D shape of an image, and this is known as the core predictor component, and then it plugs it through this detail sharpener component to basically refine the prediction to make it more detailed and accurate. And this is the component that is able to render all these details for both depth and normal estimation. If you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released everything for you to try out. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, this contains all the instructions on how you can run this on your computer. Notice that this does require at least 40 gigabytes of VRAM, plus apparently this uses Flux 1, which is really weird. I mean, we already have Flux 2 and we have some much better open source models like Qwen or Z-Image, so I don't know why they're still using Flux 1. But anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.